Hi everyone, and thank you so much for watching my channel The Witty Turtle. So in this video we are going to revise section 50. Okay, section 50, which says computation of capital gains in case of depreciable assets. Now you must be thinking that we are studying PGBP chapter, and now I am telling you about this section which belongs to capital gain, right? Because PGBP का जो section होता है that starts from section 28 and it goes up to section 44. But this section is from your chapter capital gains. Now, why are we talking about this particular chapter? Because we are studying depreciation and calculation of capital gains of depreciable asset comes under this particular topic. So together we are revising that particular thing also. So now you might be thinking that why we haven't studied this particular chapter in capital gain, because this section talks about all those assets on which are capital assets and on which depreciation is allowed under this act previously. राइट ये जो एसेट था, ये एसेट पहले किसी बिजनेस या प्रोफेशन में यूज हो रहा था एंड वहां पे डेप्रिसिएशन वाज अलाउड ऑन दिस एसेट, right? So now we are going to study calculation of capital gain in case of depreciable assets where depreciation is earlier allowed or depreciation is allowable under this particular act. So this section says, take out your book, uh, where the capital asset is an asset forming part of block of assets in respect of which depreciation has already been allowed under the act. So if this particular asset is a part of a particular block of asset where already depreciation has been allowed under this particular act, then the provisions of section 48 and 49, which is calculation of capital gains, okay, provision of section 48 and 49 shall be subject to the following modifications. So here two modifications are given. First, we will understand the second part of this particular section, which says where any block of asset cease to exist, right? Where any block of assets cease to exist for the reason that all the assets in that particular block are transferred during the previous year, right? क्या हो रहा है, एक block of asset है where there are three assets, okay, and now what is happening, in this block there is no more asset remaining. There is no more asset remaining. Why? Because all these three assets are transferred in that particular year. या तो वो sell किया गया है या फिर कुछ और हो गया है, right? So this has been transferred in this particular previous year. So in that case what happens, in most of the cases short term capital gain arises, right? Short term capital gain arises. Now look at this particular example that is shown here. So in the first two cases, what is happening, it says about full block transfer. Full block transfers, that means there are three assets in this particular block. There are three assets and all these three assets are being transferred. So how many assets are left? Zero, right? So the block ceased to exist. The block ceased to exist, right? So this is what is written as full block transfer. पूरा entire block जो है वो transfer हो गया and number of assets remaining equals to 0. So in this case, look at the first case where the opening WDV is 6 lakhs rupees and how many assets are there? Only 5 assets are there. In that you have to add in that particular year again you are purchasing two more assets, okay, two more assets. So the actual cost of the asset acquired is 2 lakhs. So now in the block, what is the value of the block? 6 plus 2, 8 lakhs. And how many assets are there? 7 assets are there. Now look at the arrow mark, right? It is said that like all the assets, all the 7 assets are sold here for rupees 11 lakhs and 30,000. 11 lakhs and 30,000. So what is happening here? In this case, the value of the block is 8 lakhs, but the selling price is 11 lakhs and 30,000. So in this case, what happens? The money payable, or you can say the sale proceed, will be restricted up to the amount of the value of the block. Why? Because we know that the WDV can be nil, but it cannot be negative, right? So even though it was sold for 11 lakhs and 30,000 rupees, but the sale proceed amount will be restricted up to 8 lakhs, right? So now what is happening? The WDV is becoming zero. And how many assets are remaining? Zero assets are remaining. Why? Because the entire block is being transferred. So now look at this. Tell me, is there any asset remaining? No. Is there any WDV remaining? No. Is there any depreciation allowable? No. So in this case, what happens? In this case, capital gain will be chargeable. Capital gain will be chargeable. So now what will happen in this case? In this case, your selling price is rupees 11 lakhs and 30,000, but you are you are able to claim the depreciation only up to 8 lakhs, right? So here your capital gain is arising, right? The remaining amount of like 3 lakhs and 30,000 will be taxable as short term capital gain, right? So here your full value of consideration will be 11 lakhs and 30,000, and your cost of acquisition will be the WTV, which is your 8 lakhs, and your short term capital gain will be how much? 3 lakhs and 30,000, right? Now uh, now let's see the in the second case. In the second case of full block transfer, what happens here? The opening WDV is 6 lakhs, and you have 5 assets, and your actual cost of asset acquired is again 2 lakhs, and you're purchasing 2 more assets, right? So what is the value of the block? Value of the block is 8 lakhs, and it has 7 assets, right? Now imagine that all the assets were sold for 6 lakhs and 90,000 rupees. 6 lakhs and 90,000 rupees. So in this case, what happens? Your sale proceed amount is less than the value of the block, right? Less than the value of the block. So here what happens? All the assets are gone. There is no asset existing, right? But what is the value of WDV? The WDV becomes 1,10,000. The value of the block of asset is remaining as 1,10,000 rupees, बट कोई asset नहीं है यहाँ पे, तो यहाँ पर भी आपको depreciation नहीं मिलेगा, right? Here also you won't be able to claim depreciation. But in this case, what happens? Your you like the value of asset was 8 lakhs, but you got only 6 lakhs and 90,000, right? If you had kept the asset, then you could have used it for up to 8 lakhs, but after transferring it you got only 6 lakhs and 90,000. So यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है? यहाँ पर आपको गेन हो रहा है या लॉस हो रहा है? Obviously यहाँ पर आपको शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल लॉस हो रहा है. So your full value of consideration is how much? 6 lakhs and 90,000, and your cost of acquisition will be your WTV, that is your 8 lakhs rupees. So here you are getting your short term capital loss as 1 lakh and 10,000, right? So it was all about the second point of this particular provision. तो सेकेंड पॉइंट क्या बोलता है? वेर एनी ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट सीज्ड टू एग्जिस्ट फॉर द रीजन दैट ऑल द एसेट्स इन दैट ब्लॉक आर ट्रांसफर्ड ड्यूरिंग द प्रीवियस ईयर. ऑल द एसेट्स, राइट? एसेट वाला जो जगह है वहाँ पे क्रॉस लग रहा है, सारे एसेट यहाँ पर खाली हो जा रहे हैं. देन it shall be deemed to be short term capital gain, either short term capital gain or short term capital loss, right? Now coming to the first point of this particular section, which says where the total amount of sale consideration is more than the aggregate amount of the following three things. The first thing is what? The first thing is opening WDV. The second is what? Your transfer expenses, if any is incurred during the transferring. And lastly क्या है? Lastly है आपका actual cost of any asset falling within the block of asset which is acquired during that previous year. Opening WDV plus your actual cost of asset acquired in the previous year plus your any transfer expenses. So the aggregate of all these three things, if it is less than your sale consideration, or you can say sale consideration, if it is if the sale consideration is more than the aggregate of these three things, so what happens? In this case, the excess amount is deemed to be short term capital gain. Now in the example, look at the third case where it is written that part block transfer, right? Part block transfer means if there are 3 assets in the block, then we are transferring only 2, and some assets are remaining in the block, right? So in the third case, what is happening? Your opening WDV is 6 lakhs, there are 5 assets, and again you are purchasing 2 more assets which cost you around 2 lakh rupees. So the value of the block is becoming 8 lakhs. Now what happens? Now you are selling 4 assets from that particular block for rupees 8 lakhs 90,000. For rupees how much? 8 lakhs 90,000. Right? So here, uh, as your sale consideration is more than the value of asset, value of the block of asset, so what happens? As you already know that WDV can be nil but it cannot be negative, so we can take the money payable or the sale proceed amount only up to the WDV amount, that is your 8 lakhs. So even though the selling price is 8 lakhs and 90,000, we are taking it up to 8 lakhs only. So here what happens? Your WDV after deducting the money payable, your WDV is becoming zero. But in the block, all like after transferring also, there are 3 assets remaining. Why? Because out of the 7 assets, you transferred only 4 assets. So there are again 3 assets remaining in the block. So what happens? Asset है यहाँ पे, it is remaining. WDV है क्या? नहीं है. So in this case, even though asset is there but WDV is not there, so you're not eligible for depreciation. But in this case, as you already know that your sale price is more than the aggregate of these 3 things: opening WDV, actual cost of asset acquired in the previous year, and transfer expense. So your sale price of 8 lakhs and 90,000 is more than the aggregate of these 3 things, which is your 8 lakhs. So here what happens? Short term capital gain will arise. How? Full value of consideration is how much? 8 lakhs 90,000, and your cost of acquisition is how much? That is your 8 lakh rupees. So in this case, short term capital gain of 90,000 is arising, right? Now look at the last case, that is your fourth case. Here again, 6 lakhs and 2 lakhs, same old story. So here what happens? The value of the block is how much? 8 lakhs rupees. And how many assets are there? There are total 7 assets, right? Now you are transferring 4 assets for rupees 5 lakhs and 40,000. For rupees 5 lakhs and 40,000. So here your sale consideration amount is less than your total value of the block, right? 5 lakhs 40,000 is less than your 8 lakhs. So here what happens? No capital gain will arise, right? Because in the first point of section 50, we studied what? Like short term capital gain will arise only in that case where the sale consideration is more than the aggregate of these 3 things, right? But here what is happening? Here the sale consideration is less than the aggregate of these 3 things. So what happens here? You are transferring 4 assets for rupees 5 lakhs and 40,000, and how much is remaining in the block? 3 assets are remaining, and again your WDV is also there, which is 2 lakhs and 60,000. So in this case, no capital gain is arising. So in this section there is nothing to remember. Okay, this is simply common sense. अगर ठीक है, आपका आपका गेन कहाँ पर होगा? गेन तब होगा जब आपके कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन से आपका जो फुल वैल्यू ऑफ कंसिडरेशन है वो ज़्यादा होगा, राइट? Your gain will arise only in that case where the cost of acquisition is lesser than the sale consideration, right? But here in this case, the cost is not less than your sale consideration, so obviously gain will not arise. And यहाँ पे इसको हम loss भी नहीं बोल सकते हैं. Why we cannot call it as loss? Because there are already assets remaining in the block, like assets are existing, and also there is some amount of WDV remaining, right? So in this case, capital gain will not arise. I hope you could thoroughly revise this section with me. And after watching this video, please go and solve some questions. I will also solve. And yes, if you find this video helpful, and if you are finding this revision series helpful, then please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to share this video with your CA and CMA final friends.